I'm 32 years old, and 6 months ago, I discovered that the woman I almost married had been lying to me for 3 years about being the mother of my child. This is the story of how I got baby trapped, how I discovered the truth, and how I completely destroyed her life with one DNA test. Let me start from the beginning, because this story is so insane that even now, half a year later, I still can't fully process what happened. 3 years ago, I met a woman named Jessica at a friend's wedding. She was beautiful, charming, successful. She worked in pharmaceutical sales, drove a nice car, had her own apartment. She was 28 at the time. I was 29. We hit it off immediately. Within 2 months, we were officially dating. Within 6 months, she moved into my place. Everything seemed perfect. Too perfect, as it turns out. Jessica was the kind of girlfriend who seemed almost calculated in her perfection. She cooked elaborate meals. She kept the apartment spotless. She got along with my family. She laughed at my jokes. She was supportive of my career as a software engineer. She talked about wanting kids someday, but not right away. She said she wanted to travel first, build her career, enjoy being young. I believed every word. Looking back now, I realize how naive I was, how blind, how stupid. 8 months into our relationship, Jessica told me she was pregnant. I was shocked. We'd been careful. I always used protection. Always. She said she was on birth control. But accidents happen, right? Condoms break. Pills fail. That's what she told me. That's what I believed. When she showed me the positive pregnancy test, I felt my entire world shift. I wasn't ready to be a father. I'd just gotten a promotion at work. I was 29 years old. I had student loans. I lived in a one-bedroom apartment. But Jessica was crying, telling me how scared she was, how she didn't know what to do. And like an idiot, I told her we'd figure it out together. She said she wanted to keep the baby. She said she knew it was unexpected, but she felt like it was meant to be. She talked about how we could make it work, how she'd always wanted to be a mother, how this was a sign that we were meant to be together. I was terrified, but I convinced myself that this was just life, that sometimes things don't go according to plan, that I needed to step up and be a man. So I proposed. 3 weeks after finding out she was pregnant, I bought a ring and asked her to marry me. She said yes. She cried happy tears. She posted photos on social media. My family was thrilled. Her family was thrilled. Everyone was so happy for us. Except me. Deep down, I felt trapped. But I pushed those feelings away because I thought I was doing the right thing. Over the next few months, Jessica's pregnancy progressed normally. Morning sickness, cravings, doctor's appointments, baby shopping. I went to every ultrasound. I painted the nursery. I read books about being a father. I tried to get excited, and sometimes I genuinely was. The first time I saw the ultrasound and saw that tiny heartbeat, I cried. Maybe this would be okay, I thought. Maybe I could do this. Jessica and I got married in a small ceremony when she was 5 months pregnant. Nothing elaborate, just close family and friends. She wore a white dress that showed her growing belly. She looked beautiful, happy, radiant. Everyone kept telling me how lucky I was, how blessed, how exciting this new chapter would be. I smiled and nodded and tried to ignore the gnawing feeling in my gut that something was wrong. But I didn't know what, so I ignored it. Our daughter, Lily, was born on a cold November morning. 7 pounds, 3 ounces. Perfect 10 fingers. Perfect 10 toes. She had Jessica's nose and what I thought were my eyes. When the nurse handed her to me for the first time, I felt something I'd never felt before. Pure, unconditional love. In that moment, all my doubts disappeared. All my fears vanished. This was my daughter, my baby girl, and I would do anything for her. For the next 2.5 years, I was a devoted father. I changed diapers. I did midnight feedings. I sang lullabies. I read bedtime stories. I took Lily to the park. I taught her how to walk, how to talk, how to count to 10. She called me Dada. She'd run to me when I came home from work. She'd fall asleep on my chest. She was my entire world. But my relationship with Jessica was falling apart. After Lily was born, Jessica changed. She became distant, cold, critical. She complained constantly that I wasn't helping enough, even though I was doing everything I could while working full-time. She'd pick fights over the smallest things. She'd accuse me of not caring about her, of being a bad husband, of prioritizing work over family. I tried. I really did. I suggested couples therapy. She refused. I tried to plan date nights. She'd cancel last minute. I tried to talk to her about what was wrong. She'd shut down or start screaming. Our sex life disappeared completely. We slept in the same bed, but felt like strangers. I started to wonder if I'd made a mistake, if getting married because of an accidental pregnancy had been the wrong choice. But I stayed. For Lily. Because I couldn't imagine not being there every day for my daughter. Then, 6 months ago, everything imploded. I was doing laundry. Jessica was out shopping with Lily. I was folding clothes when Jessica's phone, which she'd left charging on the kitchen counter, started buzzing with text messages. Normally, I wouldn't look. I respect privacy. But the messages kept coming. Over and over. Buzz. 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 And the phone was face up on the counter, so I could see the notifications. The messages were from someone named Marcus. The preview said things like, "I miss you. When can I see you again? I can't stop thinking about last night." My stomach dropped. I picked up her phone. I know I shouldn't have, but I did. And what I found destroyed me. Months of messages. Explicit messages. Photos. Videos. Jessica had been having an affair. For at least 8 months. Maybe longer. The messages went back further than I could scroll in that moment. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part came when I kept scrolling. I found a message thread from 3 years ago. Right around the time Jessica got pregnant. She was messaging Marcus then too. They'd been seeing each other before she even met me. And then I found it. The message that made my blood run cold. "Marcus, are you sure about this plan?" Jessica: "Yes, he's perfect. Stable job, nice guy, good family. He'll take care of us." Marcus: "But what if he finds out?" Jessica: "He won't. I'll make sure of it. Besides, even if he does, by then it'll be too late. He'll be legally responsible anyway." Marcus: "And you're sure it's mine?" Jessica: "Positive. I haven't slept with him without protection. It's definitely yours." Marcus: "This is crazy." Jessica: "This is smart. You're not ready to be a father. But he is. And I need someone stable. We both win." I read that exchange 10 times. 20 times. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. My hands were shaking so violently I almost dropped the phone. Jessica had planned this. She'd gotten pregnant on purpose, with another man's baby, and then she'd trapped me into raising it, into marrying her, into building a life with her, all based on a lie. Lily wasn't mine, the daughter I'd raised for 2.5 years, the little girl I loved more than anything in the world, wasn't biologically mine. Jessica had been lying from the very beginning. She'd baby-trapped me with someone else's kid. I felt like I was going to throw up. I felt like my entire reality had just shattered. Everything I thought I knew was a lie. I took screenshots of everything, every message, every photo, every piece of evidence. I sent them all to my own email. Then I put her phone back exactly where it was and sat down on the couch and waited. I don't know how long I sat there. Could have been 10 minutes. Could have been an hour. Time stopped making sense. When Jessica came home with Lily, I was still sitting on the couch. Lily ran to me, smiling, holding up a new stuffed animal Jessica had bought her. "Look, Dada. Look." I picked her up, hugged her, kissed her forehead, and I started crying. Not because she wasn't mine biologically, but because I loved her. Because she was my daughter in every way that mattered except blood. And because I knew that what I was about to do was going to destroy everything. Jessica noticed me crying and asked what was wrong. I told her we needed to talk. She put Lily down to play in her room and came back. She sat next to me on the couch, concern on her face. "What's going on?" she asked. "Are you okay?" I looked at her. This woman I'd trusted. This woman I'd married. This woman who'd destroyed my life for her own selfish gain. And I asked her the question, "Is Lily mine?" The color drained from her face. "What?" she whispered. "You heard me," I said. "Is Lily biologically mine?" Jessica's eyes went wide. She started stuttering. What are you talking about? Of course she's yours. Why would you even ask that?" I pulled out my phone. I showed her the screenshots. I watched as her face went from confusion to panic to anger. "Where did you get those?" she demanded. "You went through my phone? That's an invasion of privacy." I laughed. Bitter, broken laughter. "You're seriously going to make this about privacy? You've been lying to me for 3 years. You got pregnant with another man's baby and tricked me into raising her." She stood up, started pacing. "You don't understand," she said. "It's complicated." "Complicated?" I shouted. "You planned this. You admitted it in your own messages." She tried to explain. She said Marcus wasn't ready to be a father. That she knew I would be a good dad. That she did it for Lily. That she did it for us. I told her to get out. She refused. She said this was her home too. That Lily was her daughter. I told her if she didn't leave, I'd call the police and show them evidence of fraud. She finally left. She took Lily with her. I didn't stop her. I couldn't. I sat in that empty apartment and cried for hours. The next day, I called a lawyer. I explained everything. I showed him the messages. He told me I had options. The first thing we needed to do was get a paternity test. Even though I already knew the answer, I needed legal proof. So I scheduled one. It took 2 weeks to get the results back. 2 weeks of hell. 2 weeks of barely sleeping. 2 weeks of Jessica blowing up my phone, alternating between begging me to forgive her and threatening me with legal action. The results came back. 0% probability of paternity. I am not Lily's biological father. The lawyer filed paperwork immediately to nullify my parental rights and responsibilities. We also filed for fraud. Jessica had committed paternity fraud. In my state, that's a civil offense. I could sue her for damages, which I did, for every cent I'd ever spent on Lily. Every diaper, every doctor's appointment, every birthday present, every daycare payment, every single expense over 2.5 years. Jessica hired a lawyer. They tried to argue that because I'd been acting as Lily's father for so long, I was legally obligated to continue, that it was in the best interest of the child. My lawyer argued that I was a victim of fraud and deception, that I'd been tricked into this situation under false pretenses. The case went to court. It took 4 months. 4 agonizing months of testimonies, of presenting evidence, of watching Jessica cry on the stand about how much she loved me, how sorry she was, how this was all a mistake. Her lawyer painted me as a monster for abandoning a child I'd raised. My lawyer painted her as a manipulative con artist who deliberately destroyed my life. In the end, the judge ruled in my favor. The judge stated that while it was unfortunate for the child, I had been deceived and defrauded, that I had the right to annul my parental responsibilities. The judge also awarded me damages. $73,000. Every expense I'd ever paid for Lily, plus emotional distress damages. Jessica was ordered to pay me back in full. But that wasn't the end of it. Once the case became public, Jessica's life fell apart. Her employer found out. She was fired. Pharmaceutical sales companies don't want employees with fraud convictions. Her family found out. Her parents disowned her. Her friends abandoned her. Social media tore her apart. Someone had leaked the court documents online, and the internet did what the internet does best. They destroyed her. Marcus, Lily's biological father, wanted nothing to do with them. He'd moved to another state and had blocked Jessica on everything. She tried to take him to court for child support, but because she'd hidden the pregnancy from him and put my name on the birth certificate instead, the legal process became a nightmare for her. Last I heard, she's still fighting that battle. As for me, I haven't seen Lily in 6 months. I won't lie, it hurts. I think about her every day. I wonder if she misses me, if she asks about me, if Jessica told her the truth, or if she just said, Dada went away. I love that little girl. I still do. But she's not mine. And staying in her life would mean staying connected to Jessica. And I can't do that. I can't forgive what she did. I can't move past it. I've started therapy. I'm working through the trauma of being lied to for 3 years, of having my entire reality shattered, of losing a daughter I loved. My therapist says I'm grieving, that it's okay to mourn the loss of the life I thought I had, that it's okay to be angry, that it's okay to feel betrayed. And I do. I feel all of those things, but I also feel relief. Relief that I'm no longer trapped in a marriage built on lies. Relief that I'm no longer being manipulated by someone who saw me as nothing more than a meal ticket. Relief that I got out before wasting more years of my life. Jessica's plan backfired spectacularly. She thought she could trap me. She thought she could use me. She thought I'd never find out. But she was wrong. And now she's paying the price. $73,000. A ruined reputation. No job. No family support. And a child whose real father wants nothing to do with them. That's karma. I didn't wish this on her. But I don't feel bad about it either. She made her choices. Now she has to live with the consequences. As for me, I'm rebuilding. I bought a new apartment. I've been going to the gym. I've been spending time with friends I'd neglected during my marriage. I've even started dating again, though I'm taking it very slow. Trust doesn't come easy anymore. I find myself second-guessing everything, analyzing every text message, looking for red flags that might not be there. It's exhausting, but I'm healing. Slowly. Some people think I'm a monster for walking away from Lily. They say that biology doesn't matter, that I was her father in every way that counted, and they're not entirely wrong. I was her father. I did love her. But here's the thing they don't understand. I didn't choose to walk away from Lily. I chose to walk away from Jessica, from the lie, from the manipulation, from the fraud. Lily was a victim in this too, but so was I. And I have the right to protect myself from further harm. Would I have stayed if Jessica had been honest from the beginning? If she'd told me she was pregnant with someone else's baby, but wanted me to help raise her? Maybe. I don't know. That's a very different scenario. That's informed consent. That's honesty. What Jessica did was trap me. She took away my choice. She made decisions about my life without my knowledge or consent. And that's unforgivable. I hope Lily grows up happy. I hope she finds stability. I hope Jessica becomes a better person and actually takes responsibility for her actions. But that's not my problem anymore. I'm not responsible for fixing Jessica's mistakes. I'm only responsible for my own life. And I'm choosing to move forward, to heal, to rebuild, to find someone who will be honest with me, who will respect me, who won't see me as a tool to be used for their own gain. This experience taught me a lot. It taught me that people can be cruel, that love can be weaponized, that trust can be shattered. But it also taught me that I'm stronger than I thought, that I can survive betrayal, that I can rebuild from the ground up, and most importantly, that I deserve better. I deserve honesty. I deserve respect. I deserve a partner who sees me as an equal, not as a mark. Jessica destroyed 3 years of my life. She stole my money. She manipulated my emotions. She lied to me every single day. But she didn't destroy me. I'm still here. I'm still standing. And I'm going to be okay. Better than okay, actually. Because now I know what to watch out for. Now I know the warning signs. Now I know my worth. And that's something Jessica can never take away from me. So if you're reading this and you're in a similar situation, if you have doubts, if something feels wrong, trust your gut. Get a paternity test. Protect yourself legally. Document everything. Don't let anyone trap you into a life you didn't choose. And if you discover you've been lied to, don't feel guilty for walking away. You're not abandoning a child. You're protecting yourself from a person who victimized you. And there's no shame in that. Jessica thought she was so smart. She thought her plan was foolproof. She thought she could manipulate me for the rest of my life. But she underestimated me. And now she's the one paying the price. $73,000. That's what her lie cost her. And it was worth every penny. 6 months have passed since the court ruling, and people keep asking me the same question. Do you regret it? Do you regret walking away from Lily? And the honest answer is, it's complicated. Every single day, I think about her. I wonder what she's doing. If she's learned new words. If she's started preschool. If she still sleeps with that stuffed elephant I bought her for her 2nd birthday. I wonder if she remembers me at all, or if I've already faded from her memory like a dream you can't quite hold on to. The hardest part isn't the legal aftermath or the financial battle. It's the emotional wreckage. It's waking up on Saturday mornings and realizing I don't have to take Lily to the park anymore. It's walking past the toy store and seeing something I know she would love, and then remembering that I don't get to buy it for her. It's hearing a little girl laugh in public and feeling my chest tighten because it sounds like her. It's the ghost of a life that never really existed. Because the truth is, the life I thought I was living was built on a foundation of lies. Every birthday party, every Christmas morning, every bedtime story, all of it was contaminated by Jessica's deception. I've had people, especially strangers on the internet after the story went viral, call me heartless. They say that real fathers don't abandon their kids, that DNA doesn't make you a dad, love does. And you know what? They're not wrong. Love does make you a parent. But here's what those people don't understand. My love for Lily doesn't erase what Jessica did to me. It doesn't erase the fraud. It doesn't erase the manipulation. It doesn't erase the fact that I was tricked into signing a birth certificate for a child that wasn't mine. It doesn't erase the fact that Jessica deliberately got pregnant with another man's child, specifically to trap me into providing for them. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a one-night stand that resulted in an unexpected pregnancy. This was a calculated, premeditated plan to use me. Jessica sat down with Marcus and discussed this scheme. They weighed their options. They decided that I was the perfect mark. Stable income, good family, kind personality, easy to manipulate. And then they executed their plan with surgical precision. Jessica stopped using protection with Marcus while continuing to use protection with me. She tracked her ovulation cycle. She got pregnant intentionally. She then came to me with crocodile tears and a fake story about failed birth control. She manipulated my emotions, my sense of responsibility, my desire to do the right thing. She weaponized my decency against me. And it worked. For 3 years, it worked perfectly. I proposed. I married her. I worked overtime to support our family. I gave up hobbies and friendships to be present as a father. I planned my entire future around being Lily's dad. I opened a college fund for her. I bought life insurance naming her as a beneficiary. I wrote a will leaving everything to her and Jessica. I restructured my entire existence around a child who wasn't even mine, based on lies from a woman who saw me as nothing more than a paycheck. So no, I don't think I'm heartless for walking away. I think I'm a survivor. I think I'm someone who refused to continue being victimized. Because let's be clear about what continuing to raise Lily would have meant. It would have meant maintaining some form of relationship with Jessica for the next 15 years at minimum. Co-parenting meetings, splitting holidays, coordinating schedules, being forced to interact with the woman who ruined my life over and over again for a decade and a half. It would have meant continuing to financially support a child who isn't mine while Jessica faced zero consequences for her actions. Because let's be real, even with the court order, there's no guarantee Jessica will ever actually pay me back that $73,000. Her wages can be garnished, but she's currently unemployed. You can't garnish nothing. There's a very real possibility I'll never see a cent of that money. But at least I'm not actively paying more into the lie. At least the financial bleeding has stopped. It would have also meant confusing Lily, because eventually she'd have to know the truth. Eventually, she'd ask questions. Why doesn't Dada live with us anymore? Why did Dada leave? And what would I say? How do you explain to a child that mommy lied about who your father is? That mommy tricked me into raising you? That I left because I couldn't handle being connected to someone who betrayed me so fundamentally? There's no good way to have that conversation. No matter what, Lily gets hurt. And that's Jessica's fault, not mine. People also don't understand the mental health toll this took on me. For months after discovering the truth, I was a wreck. I couldn't focus at work. I'd zone out in the middle of meetings, suddenly consumed by memories of all the times Jessica lied to my face, all the times she said she loved me, all the times she talked about our future together, all the times she thanked me for being such a good father to our daughter. Our daughter. She said that phrase hundreds of times, knowing it was a lie, knowing she was deceiving me, and she never felt guilty enough to stop. I developed insomnia. I'd lie awake at night, replaying every conversation, every interaction, looking for clues I'd missed. How did I not see it? Were there signs? Was I just too trusting, too naive, too stupid? I started second-guessing every relationship in my life. If Jessica could lie so convincingly for 3 years, who else might be lying to me? My friends, my family, my coworkers. I became paranoid, hypervigilant, unable to trust anyone. I lost 20 pounds because I couldn't eat. Food tasted like ash. I'd sit down to meals and just stare at the plate, unable to summon the energy to lift a fork. My friends noticed. My family noticed. Everyone kept telling me I looked sick, that I needed to take care of myself. But I didn't care. How could I care about something as trivial as eating when my entire life had just been revealed as a lie? I started having panic attacks. They'd hit out of nowhere. I'd be driving to work and suddenly couldn't breathe. Had to pull over to the side of the road, gasping for air like I was drowning. I'd be in the grocery store and see baby food on a shelf and feel my chest tighten, my vision blur, my heart race. I went to the emergency room twice because I thought I was having a heart attack. Both times, the doctors told me it was anxiety, that I needed therapy, that I was experiencing trauma. And they were right. I was traumatized. I am traumatized. Post-traumatic stress disorder, my therapist calls it. Because what Jessica did to me was a form of long-term psychological abuse. She gaslit me for 3 years. She made me believe I was a father. She made me bond with a child. She made me restructure my entire identity around being Lily's dad. And then I found out it was all a performance, a lie, a manipulation. That kind of betrayal doesn't just hurt, it fundamentally alters how you see the world. My therapist has been incredibly helpful, but progress is slow. We meet twice a week. We talk through my anger, my grief, my guilt. Yes, guilt. Because even though logically I know I'm the victim here, emotionally I still feel like I abandoned Lily. I still feel like I failed her. My therapist keeps reminding me that Jessica is the one who failed Lily by lying about paternity, that I'm not responsible for the consequences of Jessica's actions. But guilt isn't logical. It doesn't care about facts or evidence or court rulings. It just sits there in my chest like a stone, heavy and immovable. The legal battle itself was a nightmare that I haven't fully detailed yet. The court proceedings lasted 4 months, but they felt like 4 years. Every week, I'd sit in that courtroom, facing Jessica across the aisle, listening to her lawyer paint me as a villain. They argued that I'd formed a parent-child bond with Lily, that abandoning her now would cause psychological harm, that regardless of biology, I'd taken on the role of father and couldn't just walk away because it was inconvenient. My lawyer countered with the fraud angle. He presented the text messages. He showed the timeline of Jessica's deception. He brought in expert witnesses who testified about the psychological impact of paternity fraud on victims. He argued that I'd been denied informed consent, that I'd been tricked into this relationship under false pretenses, that continuing to force me into a parental role was itself a form of ongoing abuse. The worst part was watching Jessica on the stand. She cried. God, she cried so convincingly. She talked about how much she loved me, how this had all been a terrible mistake, how she'd been young and scared and made bad choices, how she regretted everything, how she wanted to make it right. Her lawyer asked her, "Do you still love him?" And she looked directly at me, tears streaming down her face, and said, "Yes, I've always loved him. He's the only man I've ever truly loved." It was hard not to react. Hard not to stand up and scream that she was lying. That if she loved me, she never would have done this. But I stayed quiet. I let her perform. Because I knew the evidence spoke for itself. When it was my turn to testify, I was terrified. Public speaking has never been my strength, and this was the most important speech of my life. My lawyer asked me to describe how I found out about the affair and the paternity fraud. So I told the story. The laundry, the buzzing phone, the messages, the screenshots, the confrontation. I tried to stay calm, factual, unemotional. But when my lawyer asked me, "How did this discovery affect you?" I broke down. Right there on the stand. I cried. I couldn't help it. All the pain, all the anger, all the betrayal just came flooding out. I told the court about the nights I spent curled up on my bathroom floor, sobbing so hard I thought I'd vomit. I told them about the panic attacks, the insomnia, the weight loss, the suicidal thoughts. Yes, I admitted to those too, because in my darkest moments, after finding out about Jessica's lies, I didn't want to be alive anymore. I couldn't see a way forward. I couldn't imagine a future where I wasn't consumed by this pain. I told the court all of this because I needed them to understand. This wasn't just about money. This wasn't just about a legal technicality. This was about my life, my sanity, my survival. Jessica's lawyer tried to cross-examine me, tried to make me look like a deadbeat dad, asked me, "Don't you love Lily? Don't you care what happens to her?" And I said, "Yes, I love her. I'll probably always love her. But I also have to love myself. I have to protect myself. I can't continue to be victimized by Jessica for the rest of my life just because a child I didn't create exists? That answer didn't sit well with some people in the courtroom. I saw them shaking their heads, but I didn't care. It was the truth. The judge, thankfully, saw through Jessica's performance. In their ruling, they stated, "While this court acknowledges the emotional complexity of this situation, the evidence is clear that the plaintiff was subjected to deliberate fraud. The defendant intentionally deceived the plaintiff about paternity for the purpose of securing financial support and legal responsibility. This constitutes paternity fraud and entitles the plaintiff to relief. The defendant's actions, while perhaps motivated by fear or desperation, do not excuse the fundamental violation of trust that occurred. The plaintiff has the right to annul parental obligations established under false pretenses." When I heard those words, I felt like I could breathe for the first time in months. Validation. Official, legal validation that I wasn't crazy, that I wasn't a bad person for walking away, that I'd been wronged, that I was a victim. It sounds silly, but I needed to hear that from an authority figure. I needed someone in a position of power to acknowledge that what happened to me was wrong, that I deserved justice. The $73,000 judgment was almost secondary. Yes, the money matters. Yes, I'm glad I'm getting reimbursed for expenses I never should have had to pay. But more than the money, I wanted Jessica to face consequences. I wanted her to understand that actions have repercussions, that you can't just manipulate and lie your way through life without eventually paying a price. And now she is paying, literally and figuratively. Since the ruling, my life has slowly started to rebuild. I moved out of the apartment I'd shared with Jessica. Too many memories there. Every corner reminded me of her lies. I found a new place across town. 1 bedroom. Minimal furniture. I'm starting over from scratch, and in a way, that feels right. Clean slate, new beginning. I painted the walls a different color. I bought new furniture. I made sure nothing in this apartment had any connection to Jessica or to the life I thought I had. Work has been a refuge. I throw myself into coding projects. I stay late at the office. My boss has noticed the increase in productivity and actually gave me another promotion last month. More responsibility, higher salary, better benefits. It's funny, in a dark way. Jessica tried to trap me into providing for her and Lily, and now that I'm free from that obligation, I'm actually making more money than I ever did during our marriage. The universe has a twisted sense of irony. I've started dating again, though it's been challenging. The first woman I went out with after the divorce seemed great. We had good conversation over dinner. She laughed at my jokes. We made plans for a second date. But then, when she casually mentioned that she'd love to have kids someday, I felt that familiar panic rising in my chest. I excused myself to the bathroom and had a panic attack in a restaurant stall. I never called her again. I felt terrible about ghosting her, but I wasn't ready. I'm still not sure I'm ready. The second woman I dated was more understanding. I was upfront about my situation. I told her about Jessica, about Lily, about the paternity fraud. I expected her to run. Instead, she said, "That's incredibly brave of you. To walk away from a toxic situation, even when it was painful. To protect yourself. I think that's admirable." We dated for 2 months. It was nice, comfortable, but ultimately, it didn't work out for reasons unrelated to my past. We wanted different things, but her understanding and acceptance of my story gave me hope that maybe, eventually, I can trust again. That not every woman is Jessica. That there are honest people out there who won't weaponize my kindness. I've also reconnected with friends I'd lost touch with during my marriage. Jessica had been subtly isolating me, I realize now. She'd always find excuses why I couldn't go out with my buddies, why I needed to stay home, Why spending time with friends was selfish when I had a family to prioritize. I see now that was part of her control strategy. Keep me isolated. Keep me dependent on her. Keep me from having outside perspectives that might make me question things. But now, I'm free. I go to bar trivia with my college roommate every Thursday. I play basketball with a group of guys from work every Sunday morning. I'm rebuilding my social network, remembering who I was before Jessica, rediscovering hobbies and interests I'd abandoned. My family has been supportive, though they're still processing everything. My mom, especially, has struggled. She loved Lily. She was excited to be a grandmother. When I told her the truth about the paternity fraud, she cried for hours. Not because she was upset with me, but because she was heartbroken. For me, for herself, for Lily. She keeps asking if there's any way I could still see Lily occasionally. Just to check in, to make sure she's okay. And I understand where my mom is coming from. But the answer is no. Clean break. That's what my therapist recommended. That's what my lawyer recommended. That's what I need for my own mental health. Maintaining any connection to Lily means maintaining a connection to Jessica. And I can't do that. I won't. My dad, on the other hand, is furious. He wants to press criminal charges against Jessica. He's researched laws about fraud, about emotional distress, about anything that might land her in jail. I've had to repeatedly tell him that we already won in civil court, and pursuing criminal charges would just drag everything out longer. But I appreciate his anger on my behalf. It validates my own rage. It reminds me that what happened to me wasn't okay, that I have the right to be angry, that I'm not overreacting. As for Jessica, I've heard through mutual acquaintances that she's not doing well. She's currently living with a friend because she can't afford rent on her own. The pharmaceutical company fired her as soon as they found out about the fraud case. Apparently, they have a morality clause in their employment contracts. Committing fraud violated that clause. She's been applying to other jobs, but her reputation precedes her. Someone leaked the court documents online, and if you Google her name, the first result is an article about the paternity fraud case. No employer wants to hire someone with that kind of public scandal attached to them. She's also facing ongoing legal battles with Marcus. She finally tracked him down and served him with paternity paperwork. He's fighting it, claiming that because he never consented to being named as a father, because Jessica deliberately hid the pregnancy from him and put my name on the birth certificate instead, he shouldn't be held financially responsible. I don't know how that case will turn out. Part of me hopes he wins, so Jessica understands what it feels like to have someone refuse to be trapped by her schemes. Part of me hopes he loses, so Lily at least has some financial support. I'm conflicted. Mostly, I just don't want to think about it. Her family situation is also apparently a disaster. Her parents were devout Catholics who were already disappointed when Jessica got pregnant out of wedlock. When they found out she'd committed paternity fraud, that she'd lied and manipulated me, they disowned her, told her she was an embarrassment to the family, told her they wanted nothing to do with her or Lily. I don't wish that on anyone, but I also can't muster much sympathy for Jessica. She did this to herself. Every consequence she's facing is a direct result of her own choices. Social media has been both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, I've received an overwhelming amount of support from strangers who've reached out to share their own stories of paternity fraud, of being trapped or manipulated in relationships, of having to make impossible choices. Their messages have helped me feel less alone. They've reminded me that I'm not the villain in this story, no matter how much Jessica's supporters try to paint me as one. On the other hand, I've also received death threats, actual death threats, from people who think I'm a monster for walking away from Lily. People who've called me every name imaginable. People who've said I deserve to die alone, that I'm a disgrace to men everywhere, that I'm heartless and cruel. I've had to make all my social media private. I've had to change my phone number twice. because people kept getting it and calling me to harass me. It's been exhausting. I didn't ask to become a viral story. I didn't want this attention. But here we are. Looking forward, I'm trying to focus on the positives. I'm in therapy. I'm rebuilding my life. I'm slowly healing. I'm learning to trust again, even though it's terrifying. I'm setting boundaries. I'm prioritizing my own mental health. I'm refusing to let Jessica's actions define the rest of my life. Yes, she stole 3 years from me, but I still have decades ahead. I'm only 32. I have time to find genuine love, to build a real family, to create a life that isn't based on lies. Would I have preferred none of this happened? Obviously. Would I have preferred to never find out the truth? Absolutely not. Because living in ignorance means living in a prison. At least now I'm free. Free from Jessica. Free from the lie. Free to make my own choices based on truth instead of deception. That freedom is worth everything I've lost. It's worth the pain, the grief, the financial cost, the social backlash, because I refuse to be a victim for the rest of my life. I refuse to let Jessica win. And by walking away, by refusing to continue being trapped, I've already won. I'm free. And Jessica is stuck living with the consequences of her own actions. That's justice. That's karma. And that's enough for me.